This talk is based on a paper I will present at the Juris Diversitas Conference on Comparative Law at Macau University in Macau, China, in October of this year. I will just read the abstract, the introduction, just as a way to understand this topic. The name of the presentation will be British Omnicompetence, American Exceptionalism, and Israeli Entitlement, Engaging International Law in the Global Age. There are many fundamental differences between the two traditions of civilian and Anglophone law. One of the major differences is their contrasting attitudes toward the efficacy of international law. While civilian countries tend to view the principles of law, national and international, as ideally comprising a single unified context of authority, the Anglophone disposition is openly skeptical about such a possibility. At times, this attitude may seem merely pragmatic or opportunistic. Yet there is an explanation for this tendency that begins with certain primary assumptions that recur in various forms within those countries that are founded in the Anglophone tradition. The doctrine began in England during the reign of Henry VIII. But it fully coalesced during the 17th century as a counter to the principle of absolutist kingship, following the Glorious Revolution of 1688. Although order returned under a restored monarchy, that monarchy rested on the assumption of parliamentary omnicompetence in all matters legal and religious. In the centuries following, as Britain consolidated its maritime and commercial empire, the doctrine was confirmed as a fundamental premise of rule during the Pax Britannica. Henceforth, it would define British international relations, including relations with international law. A version of the doctrine continued in the United States following the Civil War during the period of what is called the Reconstruction. At that time, America discarded its common sense jurisprudence, influenced by Blackstone, French, Scottish, and Germanic sources that had prevailed since the time of the founding. Instead, the country came greatly under the influence of British legal methods. The new American law was not precisely an adopted British law. Instead, it was a derivative method whose professorate looked to Britain for inspiration and guidance. The newly adapted tradition gave rise to an imperial attitude of exceptionalism toward the outside world and became the ethos for a Pax Americana. Finally, Israeli law was initially established as a confluence of Anglophone law from the time of the British Mandate. It included Hebraic law from religious fundamentalists and civil law from the European Jews who immigrated there, not to mention the indigenous Sharia. However, a major turn in Israeli legal development occurred after the Six-Day War of 1967. For the first time, American Jews generally, and American legal theorists in particular, came to recognize the State of Israel as a viable and significant Jewish polity. There began to develop what might be called the Israeli-American legal imaginary, with frequent and sophisticated exchange between the two countries. The premise of Israeli law in regard to international law came in the Anglophone tradition to be understood as one of entitlement.